Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to May 19th, 2025 Township Committee meeting, 7 p.m.-ish at the Municipal Building here, 770 Coopertown Road, Delanco. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett?
Here.
Mrs. Patrick?
Here.
Mr. McFadden?
Here.
Mr. Olat?
Here.
Ms. Seuss?
Here, thank you. Also, also present, Mr. Schwab, our Township Administrator, Mrs. Lohr, our Municipal Clerk, Mrs. Russell, Deputy Municipal Clerk, and Mr. Warren, our Police Chief. Please rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Janice, could you please read the sunshine and live stream statements?
Please be advised that proper notice of this meeting has been given in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act in the following manner. Written notice has been mailed to the Burlington County Times and Courier Post and published in the December 30th, 2024 editions. And written notice has been posted on the official bulletin board of the Township of Delanco at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. This meeting of the Delanco Township Committee may be transmitted via live stream on YouTube video. The streaming of the meeting is not intended to be relied upon as formal public access under the Open Public Meetings Act, and if the technology is disrupted for any reason, the township meeting will proceed in person as an official meeting in accordance with the official notice.
Thank you. At this time, could you please silence all your cell phones and put them on vibrate? And moving on, we'll read the rules governing public comment period. In accord with and subject to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-12, at SEEK, during general public comment period, the Delanco Township Committee is permitted to institute reasonable rules and regulations to allow for a smooth process and ensure a reasonable opportunity to be heard. Calling out from the audience outside of one's time at the microphone is disruptive to the person speaking at the microphone or from the dais and will not be permitted. Public participation and comment shall be governed by the following rules to maintain order and prevent disruption of the meeting. Each speaker will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak and should limit comments to the matter at hand. The speaker will be directed to conclude the remarks once the speaker's time has expired. No time may be yielded to a speaker by another speaker. Groups are asked to select a spokesperson to speak on their behalf. The speakers will address the Township Committee from the podium and are asked to begin the remarks with their name and address for the record. Township Committee meeting members are not obligated to answer impromptu questions or address remarks from members of the public during the public comment period. Speakers should expect the Township Committee to refrain from engaging in dialogue, except to the extent necessary to clarify the speaker's comment. The allotted time for speaking from the podium is the method to address the Township Committee during the public comment period. The Township Committee will not entertain questions or comments called out from the audience during public comment or at any time. Speakers and members of the public should at all times maintain proper decorum and shall make their comments in a civil manner. Personal attacks, obscenity, derogatory, or slanderous remarks will not be tolerated. With that, we're moving on to the first agenda item, which is Ordinance 2025-5, amending the Township Code at Chapter 216, governing park and public property regulations. This is a second reading by title only and public hearing. Hearing is now open to the public only for Ordinance 2025-5. Okay, seeing no members of the public, I will close this hearing. Motion to approve Ordinance 2025-5, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Kate. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Olat?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes, thank you. Ordinance 2025-6, a bond ordinance of the Township of Delanco in the County of Burlington, authorizing the purchase of vehicles and equipment for the Public Works and Police Departments, appropriating the sum of $178,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of 169,100 bonds or notes of the Township for financing such appropriations and making certain determinations and covenants and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing. Second reading by title only and public hearing. Hearing is now open to the public only for Ordinance 2025-6. Seeing none, I will close this hearing to the public. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Kate. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Olat?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next up, we have a proclamation for EMS Week 2025. Matt, could you take care of that, please?
Sure. This is EMS week every year. Everyone in the EMS world, EMTs, paramedics, it's nationwide EMS week. And I'll read this proclamation. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical services team are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services fill healthcare gaps by providing by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas emergency medical services systems consist of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. Whereas the emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage of thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating the Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Township Committee of the Township of Delanco, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the citizens of the Township of Delanco, that the week of May 18th through the 24th, 2025 is hereby Emergency Medical Services Week. And further, we encourage the community to observe this week by learning more about the emergency services in your community in honor of those EMS professionals and the essential services that it provides. In witness whereof, the mayor, deputy mayor, and committee persons have caused those present to be executed and sealed the Township Delanco this date. And you should know, in the state of New Jersey, EMS is not considered an essential service, so EMS does not get any taxpayer money. If you could find that hard to believe, write your congressman, write your state. There is no money from the state for EMS, so it's up to the local municipalities to pay for emergency medical services. It's not something we're required to do. It's obviously something morally we're required to do. Can you imagine calling 911 and saying we don't have an ambulance? So having been on that side of the ambulance as an EMT, as a volunteer, and also with our paid squads that we have, Delran EMS supporting our town and our mutual aid, the state says they're not required, they're not essential. So think about that. That's the proclamation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, moving on to our public comment session. There's going to be kind of a change going forward. Public comment session number 1 will be for agenda items only. So anything that's listed on the agenda can be spoken or asked about in session 1, and then session 2 will be all non-agenda items. So the meeting is now open to the public for comments and questions on agenda items, session 1. Please come to the podium and state your name and address.
Joey Ishman, 316 Oakford Avenue. Regarding the resolution 2025-79, is that otherwise known as Municipal Alliance Funds for Primary Prevention?
Janice, Bev?
Yep, yes. You're talking about the 79?
Yes.
Yes, it's changed the name.
Thank
So it
you.
looks like the governor's office changed the name.
Thank
It
you.
used to be alcohol and drug
Yeah, Lacoste.
prevention. It is the Municipal Alliance, yes.
What is the Delanco's portion of that, or is it just because it's combined with Riverside, just one number?
Technically, where's my full packet so I can get the resolution? We do have an in-kind contribution.
I thought it was $1,500 that we contributed. Isn't this for the LEAD program?
No.
No.
What is this for then?
This goes, I think, to the high school for.
It used to be called
Yeah.
CASA,
It did.
Citizens Against Substance Abuse,
Yeah.
and it went, I don't know if it's DARE.
No,
Yeah.
that's a program. I think the money from what, Delanco and Riverside are combined to be one, what used to be
Yes.
called Municipal Alliance.
Right.
Yes, it's definitely Municipal Alliance. And it's done through, it's all administered through the police department and with Riverside through whatever programs they're going to have.
It says our cash match is 1,500, our in-kind is 4,500,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
GCSUD is 6,000.
yeah.
So then all those funds are allocated through lead? Because that's budgeted
I'm sure
separately.
this has something to do with, I thought it always had something to do with, when it was DARE, I
No.
think it was, no?
No,
No.
no.
I always
It's not.
thought that's what it was with Riverside.
So if I could again, the 1,500 is in-kind,
No,
Cash.
that's the
Cash.
That's a cash.
In-kind is 4,500.
4,500.
and what is the 6,000?
That's the total.
That's a
That's the
total.
total.
Yeah,
Okay, got
it's
it. Thank you so much.
GCSUD is what it's called, but that's how it's broken out.
By chance, do you know what the allocation is that goes to Riverside, Ms. Laura?
I think it's the same.
Okay,
I'm not sure
Okay.
what their resolution says. I haven't seen their resolution for this year, but, yeah, and that is actually, Riverside is the lead
yes,
agency, so any programs and expenditure of funds.
right, but that's not the acronym LEAD, they just take the lead. They're the
Right.
prime.
Right. They're just- yeah.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
They are the head agency. the
There you go.
Administrative agency.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone
Thank you,
else?
Joanne.
I will close session 1 to the public. Moving on to comments, Township Administrator, Mr. Schwab.
I have no comments tonight.
Thank you. Department heads, Chief Warren.
Hello, everyone. For our numbers for the month of May up to date, we have 14 police cases. There were 36 motor vehicle violations issued with a total for the year of 299, with 114 motor vehicle stops up to date for a total for the year of 722. For the month up to date for calls for service, we're at 636 with a total for the year of 4,515. So again, they are very busy running around. And we're just getting prepared for the parade this Sunday, so that's really all I have for right now.
Are you going to have your new John Deere vehicle in there?
Possible?
Okay. It's exciting.
No, we better. Yes.
Do you want to talk about any of your upcoming
No.
community events?
No, not
Okay.
right now. I would have.
Keep us on
down.
edge.
Yeah. Come on, Mayor.
Just want to like save the date, you know?
I will.
Okay.
Calm down.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Lohr.
Well, I was gonna mention about the parade this Sunday. I can't believe it's here already. Looks like the weather forecast right now is for a gorgeous day.
They're saying, yes.
Yeah, very, very nice. And also too, the administrative office is working on getting with the times with the help of Mayor Carolyn to accept credit cards and debit cards. Right now, we're cash and check only. What's that, cash and checks, you know? So we're working on getting that agreement with a vendor to provide that people can pay via credit card and debit card also. We'll still take your cash.
Always. Until that's obsolete one day, right?
Beth, did you have anything?
Only to add for the parade, just a reminder that it does start at West Avenue again this year, correct? So that's a little, something new for those residents who live in the north end. We get to see it.
Yes.
yeah.
And Phil, did the time change so people know for like traveling when they would not be able to get out
It's
the
still
north?
starting at 1 o'clock.
Still forming at 1 and taking off at 1:30ish.
We'll start shutting streets down around 12:30,
It
quarter after
kicks off
business.
at 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
really?
it kicks off at 1.
Yeah,
But
we
we'll
start
start at
12:30
1.
kicks off at 1.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Around 12:30, quarter of was when we'll start shutting certain streets down, specifically at that end. So Perkins Lane will probably start closing off by 12:30. So we don't have any other traffic coming down, and then by quarter of, we'll pretty much shut down completely.
Great.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Township Committee reports. Mr. Olet, you want to start?
Certainly. Let's see, the History Board, we met on May the 7th. We discussed the new signage for the historical part out front of the Zerbrook Mansion. We have 2 Trex benches that have been put together by the History Board Club, and we're looking for homes for the benches. We thought we had a home for the 2 benches, and we don't, so Phil or Recreation, if you folks have a spot for it before we reach out to someone outside of the community. If you keep that in mind, we have 2 of the benches. Let's see, and look for the History Board to be in the Memorial Day Parade. Then, yesterday we were at the Mayfair, Burlington County Mayfair in Smithville from 10 to 4, and we had, I guess probably about 80, I think it was 88 people that stopped by our booth, and we got to chat with a lot of folks and share good things about Delanco. And we told them about the historical park and the events that we're going to have in the beginning of July, and to look forward to that. Then the library board met on May the 13th and followed up on the flood event that had taken place in the library on April 22nd, so there was discussion about that. They'll also have a vehicle, I believe, and some folks in the Memorial Day Parade, and they took a look at the bylaws requiring background checks, so that was on their agenda. And then on the 14th, I went to the county commissioners meeting, and they passed a resolution opposing harmful cuts to Medicaid and other health and nutrition programs. Their resolution number is 2025-00276, and that was a resolution from the county commissioners going to the folks in Trenton and mainly DC to be aware that some of the cuts that are being made down in DC that are going to affect a whole bunch of people. So they passed that resolution to pass forward, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. McFadden?
All right, on May 1st, I attended the EAB meeting. They did have their tree giveaway at the Public Works Garage, and they had a great turnout, along with, I'll fill in from last month, on their April EAB had a estimated 25 attendees that had went to their bird migration event that was held at the Delanco Public Library. So they're holding some great events. They're still working on rescheduling astronomy night. That date will be determined at a later time. May 3rd, I attended with Matt, Kate, and Carolyn the OEM exercise at the train bridge. It was very well organized, attended, and it seemed like everybody was on pace and on track if there ever was an accident there. May 4th, the installation of the little library was completed at Gateway, and that was done as his second part. The first one was done at the FOD fields, and Thomas did a great job on his. He was actually Troop 36 out of Mount Holly. And I'm jumping back from last month because we didn't do our speech. May 6th, went to the Joint Land Use Board. They had one of the businesses come in, and they had recommended they do a traffic study and return. May 8th was the recreation meeting. We worked on summer concerts along with the Memorial Day Parade organization, and we're ready to kick that off this weekend. May 12th was the school board meeting to elect the new, or vote on electing the new principal of the school, or superintendent, my apologies. And then on May 14th was the regular school board meeting. Members from the county discussed the process of the hiring of the superintendent and how they went at it, and each group and how many were there. So it was a good meeting, good educational. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Matt?
All right, since I last gave update on April 21st, I attended the fire company meeting on April 28th. Regular business occurred. We held the hoagie sale fundraiser during the wet townwide yard sale. That's sold out, so thanks to everyone who attended and came out even with the rainstorm. And Del Riv held their opening day events later in the day. I stopped by for that after we were done with the hoagie sale, and looks like all the kids had a good time despite having torrential downpours, so they were enjoying playing in the mud out there. As Phil mentioned, Delanco OEM held the drill with New Jersey Transit on May 3rd. I reported more on that last meeting, so I won't duplicate that, and Phil talked about that, but it went well. Attended the Board of Ed meeting on April 30th. The budget presentation was given for the 2025-26 school year. The budget had an overall increase, but due to increase in the rate base, there's actually about a 0.3% decrease in the taxes. Nothing incredibly noticeable to the average taxpayer, but it's not an increase, so we have that. They are eliminating the pre-K program this year due to the costs associated with that, and also the overall enrollment counts are down year over year from last year. The complete budget info is up on the school district's website, which is delanco.com. Phil mentioned about the May 12th and 14th meeting. I wasn't able to attend since I was on vacation out of the country, but the board voted in new superintendent of schools, Dr. Ronnie Tashichi. Did I say that right, Joanne?
No, Tarshishi.
Well,
Like
you both
tar-
said two different things, but
Tar-
Dr. T.
There you go.
Dr. T got sworn in. He has an impressive background. I met him on the April 30th when he stopped by there and had a chance to speak to him for a few minutes. And the board's regular meeting, that was also on the 14th, so we look forward to him starting. And finally, I spent some time out again with Public Works on Hawk Island, and I'm now pleased to report that all of the final signage, the trail marker signage, is now up, and people are out there enjoying what we have done. That's all I have to report, Mayor.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Kate?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. DISA Del Riv Youth Sports. They're planning the following fundraisers this year: a dine and donate at Crawford's Tuesday, May 20th, Taco Tuesday, pancake breakfast at the Delran VFW, date to be determined. Baseball, t-ball, and softball are in full swing. They plan to march in both parades for Memorial Day at Delanco and Riverside. I attended the spring sports day held at the West Avenue ball fields. Our mayor threw out the first pitch. The teams were introduced by their coaches, and they all looked great in their colorful uniforms. Their next meeting is May 27th at 7:30 here. Shade Tree, we met on April 23rd. Residents' requests were received as follows: 210 Peachtree Lane, the resident was present. The committee agreed not to take down the trees at this time. The chairman will talk to the sewer authority regarding their recommendations to remove both trees, since there are and/or could interfere with the sewer and water lines. 2819 Colgate, the sidewalks are heaved in one area, and it was suggested to use pavers to ramp over the roots. The resident is not happy with the decision not to remove her trees. 208 Larchmont, the resident who lives across the street has requested this tree to be taken down. A limb hangs over the road, and he has concerns regarding it falling on his property as well. The constant limbs are a mess. And so the commission will continue to watch the growth of the tree, and when we have trees to be cut, maybe they can take a look at the center of the tree to see if there's any decay. The tree inventory and community forestry management plan was discussed as well, and to see if grant funds are available. Bill Matalevitz was going to call his contact and explain that it may not be done this year. A photo op for Arbor Day was discussed, maybe watering trees at FOD or planting at Pennington, which I believe that's what they did. Living Springs, I met with the seniors at Living Springs on Friday night, April 25th. Explanations, questions, and answers were provided regarding the New Jersey Real ID. Documents needed and residents' experiences were also shared and discussed. Although the deadline was advertised as May 7th, it was noted that you could still apply after that date. Townwide yard sale, the residents were busy with the yard sale. The rain held off for a few hours. I enjoyed my breakfast sandwich from the Scouts and hoagie from the fire department. They do a great job and need our continued support. Succession meetings. Matt and I are continuing to meet with JPM in our search for an administrator to take Richard's place when he retires. Affordable housing. We are continuing to meet and discuss our trust fund monies. I know I have mentioned this before, but I will continue to mention it because I believe that some residents still don't realize that because the township was so proactive for rounds 2 and 3, that we do not need to provide any additional housing for the 4th round and possibly the 5th. Recreation met on May 8th. Summer camp has 40 registered to date, and Kristen Atkinson is the new director for the program this year. They plan to continue to meet at the library on Mondays, and trips are being scheduled on Fridays. Rec Centennial Subcommittee reported on their plans, which will include vendors, food trucks, bands, and many other activities. They're working on the plans for Centennial Park. A grant is being submitted to the county for a playground at the Babe Ruth Park. 5 summer concerts will be held at Hawk Island Marina, and 3 are going to be scheduled for our historic waterfront park. The first concert is June 12th at the Marina. Coconuts is the band. Work is continuing on the waterfront park, as you can see if you ride or walk by. Ken Shedeker was in attendance and reported on the progress he and Bobby Crabtree continue to make on the various items in town that need reports or repairs and updates. Seniors. I was unable to attend the senior meeting on the 13th, but I understand the guest speakers, Gabrielle and Jamie from Scuds, gave a presentation on the free offerings to seniors and the disabled. The upcoming trips were discussed, as well as many upcoming events scheduled at the library. And the next meeting is a luncheon at Fratelli's on June the 10th. Sewer Authority. We met on May 13th at Town Hall. The trunk line bonding was sold on May 1st. A brief review was discussed, and a structured payment schedule will be hopefully available at our next meeting. Stylex, there's no change. They are just discharging domestic waste at this time. 989 Coopertown Road, the inspection was complete. The test results from the lab were within the authority's local limits. There were 5 parameters that were above 20% threshold, and they will be monitored. And if there is a concern in the future, we will have them do another test. 1000 Coopertown Road, Phase 5 of the Stanker and Galetto project is underway, and there will be additional connection fees to the authority. Mapping was provided to show the areas in town where problems in TVing is underway. Operator's report is on file. Beverly's audit did show an increase in our flow, so our cost to Beverly will be increased. The maintenance bond for the crossings at Delanco Station has been released for the sanitary sewer improvements. And I have no update from the Senator or New Jersey DOT regarding the jug handle. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, my report, another busy month. April 25th, I was invited to participate in the Arbor Day plantings with the Environmental Committee. So we were able to plant about 12 saplings at Pennington Park, right along the trail there, so that was nice. Attended the April 30th Board of Ed meeting, as has been reported. Also attended the Del Riv meeting. The Dine and Donate is actually next week. They changed it because tomorrow's our meeting, I guess. So they changed, I think. So they changed it to the 27th. So the Dine and Donate at Crawford's is the 27th. I attended the OEM exercise with Phil and Matt, and that was really interesting to watch all the different agencies work together on a train derailment on the bridge. If anything ever happens, I think they're well prepared. It was It was a great exercise on Saturday. I did attend the Centennial Subcommittee meeting and ongoing planning for our 2 events next year. Tree grant with the DEP tree program that we had a couple years ago. It's finally finalized. There was a 2-year period that we had to wait to make sure the trees were alive. And everybody made it through, and we should be receiving our final funding for that, so we can close that out. The Joint Land Use Board on May 6th, there was 2 applications on the agenda, one for Delanco Auto postponed, and the one for the Fred Kennedy property, their application was not approved to move forward. They had to go back and do the traffic study, as Phil mentioned. On May 7th, I attended the pre-construction meeting for the CDGB handicap ramps that will be moving forward very shortly on those items that were approved for this round. We do still have our application in for the 2025 CDBG. We should be hearing about that soon. And I think that's all I have. Oh, Hawk Island cleanup. Just want to announce that now while we're here. Recreation is scheduling a Hawk Island cleanup. Just do like one before the summer and one after on June the 1st. They'll be posting information about that. It's going to be 1 o'clock on Sunday, June 1st. So do some pre-cleanup before the boaters get out there. And I think that's it. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda items. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Does anyone have anything they would like to remove from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Sorry, Fern.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just real quick on ordinance 2025-7, can you just fix in the title and the second paragraph, Janice, it refers to Rancocas as road, should be Rancocas Avenue.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, Resolution 2025-83, authorizing an emergency appropriation in the 2025 budget. I'd like to have that removed from consent, please.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, ordinance 2025-7, authorizing grant of easement to New Jersey American Water for township property between the intersection of Buttonwood Street and Rancocas Avenue and the Rancocas Creek. This is the first reading by title only and set public hearing date for June 2nd, 2025 at 7 p.m. Resolution 2025-78, an award of bid and contract for 2024 municipal roadway improvement program contingent upon NJ DOT approvals. Resolution 2025-79, Governor's Council on Substance Abuse Disorder, which is the GCSCD SUD Alliance to Prevent Substance Use Disorder. Resolution 2025-80, tax refund overpayment. Resolution 2025-81, resolution to cancel taxes and refund tax overpayment due to total veteran exemption pursuant to NJSA 54.4-3.30A. Resolution 2025-84, resolution authorizing professional services for park design plans, specifications, and grant application submittal services. Resolution 2025-85, resolution amending previous resolution 2024-115, authorizing professional services for 2024 locally funded road program. Payment of bills, account current fund $200,474.35. Payroll, $136,560.31. Dog fund, $800. Escrow trust, $345.75. Housing trust, $9,979.01. Approval of the minutes from March 3rd and March 11th. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Kate. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes, thank you.
No.
Okay, circling back to Resolution 2025-83, authorizing an emergency appropriation in the 2025 budget per NJSA 40A:4-48.
Because this is such a unique opportunity that's occurring within our community pertaining to 401 Creek Road and the referendum that'll be taking place on July 29th, I'd like to have the clerk read into the minutes the resolution 2025-83 and its, explanation, please.
Mr. Early, all the resolutions are posted in full in the minutes. So, was that what you were asking?
Well, I'd like to have it read for the public now because our minutes will not be approved until a much further date down the road. And I think that folks need to know that we've got roughly $70,000 that is going to affect our budget either this year or next year, please.
I'll be happy to read it into the minutes.
Thank you.
Resolution 2025-83, authorizing an emergency appropriation in the 2025 budget per NJSA 40A:48. Whereas an emergency has arisen as a result of a special election, expenses resulting from a bond ordinance challenge related to a petition submitted pursuant to NJSA 4049-27 et seq., and no adequate provision was made in the 2025 budget for the aforesaid purpose. Whereas NJSA 40A:4-46 provides for the creation of an emergency appropriation for the purpose mentioned above, and whereas the total amount of the emergency appropriations created, included the appropriations to be created by this resolution, is $70,000, and 3% of total operating appropriations in the budget for 2024 is $213,450.26. Whereas the foregoing appropriation, together with prior appropriations, does not exceed 3% of total operating appropriations in the budget for 2024. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Township Committee of the Township of Delanco, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey, by not less than 2/3 of all governing body members, affirmatively concurring that in accordance with NJSA 40A:4-48, that 1, an emergency appropriation is hereby made for clerk other expenses in the amount of $70,000. That said, emergency appropriation shall be provided for in full in the 2026 budget and is requested to be excluded from caps pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-53.3C1, that the Chief Financial Officer has certified that the expenditures to be financed through this resolution are related to the aforementioned emergency, and that 2 certified copies of this resolution will be filed with the Director of the Division of Local Government Services, and that's it.
And would you mind reading the certification for emergency appropriations from the Chief Financial Officer, please?
Purpose of emergency appropriations, special elections, expenses resulting from a bond ordinance challenge related to a petition submitted pursuant to NJSA 4049-27 et seq., circumstances that support the emergency resolution, special elections as a result of an estoppel petition, a challenge, an adopted bond ordinance cannot be reasonably anticipated and are not a usual budget operating item planned in the Township Clerk's OE budget. The special election is being held because of the time constraints imposed by an agreement of sale for the purchase of property, which is the purpose of adopted ordinance being challenged. Date of occurrence. The petition was both received and certified by the Municipal Clerk's Office after the adoption of the 2025 budget on April 21st, 2025. Has any contract been awarded or purchases ordered placed in connections with this emergency appropriation? No. Signed, Julie Edmondson, Chief Financial Officer, dated 5/15, Township of Delanco.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Okay, can I get a motion to approve Resolution 2025-83?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Kate. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes. Thank you. Okay, and then we have Resolution 2025-82, refunding unexpended escrow deposit for driveway installation. Kate has to abstain from this, so can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kate, motion by Matt, second by Phil. Roll call?
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Abstain.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes, thank you. Correspondence, Janice.
I have none. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Okay, meeting is open to the public for comments and questions. This is on general business. Come up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mike Templeton, 621 Delaware. Excuse me. I just wanted to add some additional information to the presentation that was made about a month ago regarding 401 Creek. You can never have too much information, and a couple of questions to follow that. During that presentation, the mayor showed a map of the area that showed the wetlands area, and this is actually the map that you should have used. Now, I distributed this to the committee. We got this back in December, I think. You also got it 2 months ago that I handed it out to you. This shows the affected area of the new New Jersey new environmental land use rules that are coming into effect this summer. New Jersey Real Resilient Environment and Landscapes. It's got affects the flood hazard area, the wetlands, stormwater. There's a big package there. I had sent, it creates an inundation risk zone, which covers tidal floodwater that's forecast over the next couple decades. It requires a risk assessment by the property owner, acknowledging future flood risk. It requires a deed notice that's filed describing those flood risks. No critical facilities are allowed to be built in the inundation risk zone. That includes public works type facilities, police, fire, EMS, that type of thing. DEP discourages affordable housing in flood zones, and it applies to new and substantially damaged buildings to the new elevation that the state, that comes with this regulation, which is a climate-adjusted flood elevation, which is based on the FEMA 100-year, adding 5 feet to that. It's kind of a big deal. I had sent a letter or an email to Hugh Doherty, the Joint Land Use Board engineer, and back in November. And let's see if I got the right one. Here it is. Mr. Doherty replied December 9th. You also have a copy of this that was distributed to the committee back in December. And he goes through what's currently in effect and what's expected. And going forward, he has a statement in there that I believe the committee should follow up with Mr. Doherty and follow up with Mr. Lopez at ERI, Harry Fox's colleague, who's the floodplain manager over there. But going forward, Mr. Doherty says, and quote, going forward, the township would be proceeding at risk based on future uses that will be permitted in on lot 11. So that's all I have to say about that part. I had also sent an email to various officials, Senator Singleton, Assemblyperson Murphy, Conaway at that time, and the county commissioners, telling them that the township was looking at 401 Creek. And has anything, you also have a copy of this letter. This was sent December 9th. Has there been any response from any level of government regarding that? Because there was some, there was a statement that there was a land swap proposed, but I don't know. I mean, I propose that the county, either help us fund the acquisition of Lot 11 and take the wetlands portion of it. But I don't know that there's anything, I've not heard anything beyond that. There's been any talk of a land swap. Is there anything of substance coming out of that?
Scott Taylor has spoken with the county officials that handle that aspect of it, and they would, that from his discussions, that they would be open to taking the wetlands portions and then giving us that lot next to our all-purpose field.
So is there a letter of agreement or a letter of intent or anything?
No, it's very unofficial.
It'd be helpful if something like that was forthcoming for the public to know that there was going to be, especially if there's any money attached to that. The 700 trees, given the difficulty, or given, that the township, or previous intent when I was on committee, and I believe that's still in play, of intending to convey the property to a developer for some other purpose. That footprint of whatever new use is going to be out there, parking lots, stormwater basins, are still going to have to be built. You're still going to lose a good portion of those 700 trees. So until the township passes that on, there's still a great potential that a lot of those trees are going to be taken out anyhow. So just to clarify that statement. And there was mention of an appraisal report that quoted an appraised price of $5.3 million, and it was in the presentation. It said a date of October 22nd. Is there, I don't recall an actual document that came.
Yeah, there was a written appraisal. You can open it. It was when they were ordered to do a appraisal, and they had given us a verbal. And then back in February, I believe, they did the written appraisal, and they did it as of the October numbers.
Okay, so there is one, but it has to be Oprah. It's not.
Yeah, it's public record, so you can Oprah it.
Right.
I think Todd has it. If you maybe
Because
he can share it with
That
you.
would be helpful. The thing about appraisals, like another property the township was looking at a couple of years ago that we did not acquire, there was an appraisal done, but it had no, it specifically said in black and white, this has no, doesn't include any information as far as our environmental hazards, hazmat, anything like that, or flood risk. So you kind of have to do, your own work after the appraisal, because it's just giving you the bare bones, and you have to really get out and look around, see what the property potential and what those hidden costs might be. But like I said, too much information is not a bad thing, but I highly recommend that you really talk to Mr. Doherty and Mr. Lopez, because I think my fear is it will be very difficult for the township to recoup the price that we're paying for it, based on the difficulty. It's a very difficult site when the new rules go into effect. Given the economic uncertainty in the country, daily, proceed with caution. So,
Is that map on the state website that you have there?
it's actually in a couple places on DEP.
Because what I pulled was directly from the state website.
Yeah. Flood Mapper, the Rutgers Climate Institute has it. Land Engineering at DEP. I can send you the link.
Yeah, if you
or
can send me the
something
link,
like
that'd be great.
but, and I've given you some copies of the same thing, but it's all part of the impact of the NJ Real regulations. So it's
Yeah,
going to be.
those regulations are being objected to by many municipalities, so.
True.
I wouldn't think for sure that they're gonna pass.
Well, the previous round, the same thing happened. There was a lot of objection when they bumped the FEMA flood numbers up at 1 to 3 feet.
Right,
And,
because this is 5 to 1, so, I mean, I think, we're considering.
Yeah.
It'll be a discussion item for us.
Yeah, it's really to prepare for the future based on sea level rise, climate change. There's a whole bunch of factors, the probabilities. Basically, it's the numbers that the state and DEP are looking at. There's like a 67% chance that sea level will rise between 2.1 and I think 5.1 feet by the end of the century. And all the numbers, all the graphs are tracking that direction. And this is really, if you're going to build now, build for the future. Build to
Right.
protect yourself, because it's cheaper to build it right now rather than pay for the damage, pay for the displacement. It also includes, the rules also include elevating roadways. So you have dry access. So that would be applicable to the road coming out of Riverside to the bridge. Last year we experienced, a year ago, January Creek Road flooded back in January during that storm. So, we've got water on 2 sides, 3 sides, on a bad day. So it's something to really look, and it's forward-thinking. It's not the usual methodology. FEMA flood numbers, or it's a line on a map. Mother Nature doesn't pay attention to lines on maps, but it's a starting point. But all the FEMA data is based on 1990 and historical. What this is looking at is essentially 1990 going forward and what we've experienced. And we've experienced some very unusual events. So thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Anyone else?
Todd Burke, 1506 2nd Street. I was hoping that there would be some kind of a public report on progress about 401 Creek Road. I understand that the Phase 1 study, which was paid for by the seller, is not open to OPRA requests, but I don't know what the project showed, and I was hoping that we would have some information on that. Of course, I've made a request for Phase 2, which was triggered by Phase 1, and you can be assured that when I get the responses to OPRA and as appropriate, that I'll make sure that they're distributed to the public, because that's what should be done, and that's what transparency is really all about. Now, I've heard it said repeatedly that we should all pull together and do this project as a Delanco community effort, but the fact of the matter is that it actually only benefits about 10 homes in Newton's Landing, which abut the property in question and for which there will be barriers. There will be protection for those homes on either side, the ball field on one side, if there is a facility there, and the homes on the other side. Well, most of Newton's Landing, fortunately for them, get tax abatements, so they're not really going to feel the pinch. But I can assure everyone on YouTube, just like I could assure everyone in the room, that of course, if this proposal goes through, your tax is going to jump, they're going to increase, they're going to keep increasing, they'll stay high, and they will never, ever, ever come down, no matter what happens with the property. If the property is intended to be flipped, which I think is highly unlikely, given the current state of the economy and what it would cost to do any kind of projected construction there also, if that's the idea, then basically what you're doing is you're engaged in real estate speculation with other people's money. And the other people are us, the taxpayers. And we're not happy about you playing games with our money and investing in real estate speculation on our dime. That's not the role here, okay? And if the proposal does go through and the township makes use of the property, there's been no discussion and no proposals and no solid information about reconstruction or reconfiguring exactly what's going on with the property for township use, and remediation of whatever hazmat materials may be there, which we haven't been informed about, and I hope that we are if it happens, or anything else. And I'm just wondering when we're going to get estimates for how much it would cost the taxpayers, not the township, us, the taxpayers, if the property has to be remediated and there has to be some reconstruction there. And I'm wondering if anybody's figured out how much this is going to cost and when it's going to be attached to this proposal, so the taxpayers are again fully aware. What's it going to cost in addition to this money? $1 million, $2 million, $5.3 million? Nobody knows, because nobody's told us. And those are some of the reasons why I'm opposed to the township getting involved with purchasing 401 Creek Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I anticipated you would be here asking us questions, so I waited until now to let you know. Late Friday, we did get our environmental study back, Phase 2, and all clear. No issues, no concerns. Mrs. Lore will be getting that to you this week, as you did already over it, so she'll be happy to get that over to you. So 0 millions to remediate, because there's no remediation necessary. Couple other things that you mentioned, tax abatements. We don't offer tax abatements. That's something that through the seniors that they have to do through the state. So there's no tax abatements here. As we've said several times, we're purchasing this property for general municipal purposes. We do not have a concrete plan, and we can only purchase it for general municipal purposes. So there will not be anything going forward about what we're doing there until we purchase the property. You had mentioned that the 10 houses and the field has protection from barriers. There's no protective barriers anticipated if that truck repair facility is going to be built. There's minor buffers with landscape. There's no actual protection. There's no soundproofing. Just wanted to point that out. That's my few takeaways. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
Yes. I received a response text pertaining to Phase 1 and Phase 2 from our engineer, and said there was not a Phase 1 or Phase 2 completed, and that the surface testing was done on the site. And so I think we need further clarification on this Phase 1, Phase 2 issue.
Phase 1 was done by the seller.
Correct.
Okay. What
Which we know was flawed.
Well, that's your opinion.
Oh, it's also Ms. Fitzpatrick's opinion from the last meeting.
I think there's items in there about other properties that were unnecessary. It wasn't flawed, and that was not her words.
Yeah, I don't remember, I remember saying it was flawed, is that it wasn't complete for our records. That's why we did the Phase 2. And we did the letter that Harry sent us. The letter that Harry sent us, do you have a copy of that letter?
Yes, I'm pulling it up right now.
I didn't understand that to be just surface only.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
And the other thing that concerns me, based off of that comment that I had received, if we go back to Buttonwood and Vine Street, the township owned a piece of property over there, and we sold it for, I believe, $30,000, and it was about 20 years ago. I think it was around 2005, 2004, somewhere in there. And then the buyer, once he started construction of the houses, found that there was landfill underneath that property. And then he turned around and sued the township because we sold him a piece of ground that was contaminated. And I don't recollect what the numbers or the figures were that it ended up costing the township to take care of that issue. Where we thought we were making money, we ended up losing money, to my knowledge.
Were you on committee at that time?
I'm sorry?
Were you on committee at that time?
I was not. I was a member of the public.
Was there environmental borings done?
I have no idea.
I do not believe there was.
No, there weren't. That property was demolished years ago.
Right.
Long before my time on township committee, and when the township sold it to a resident in Delanco who does build, when he was starting his building, there was, that's what it was. There was a problem, and he litigated it, and we did settle it with him. But it wasn't something that the township committee at that time was aware of when we sold that property.
Correct, and that's my point.
Because it had
is
been
that
done
here,
so many years ago.
Right.
And there were no borings at that time. And I guess that things happened. That was
True.
it. And
Thing-
so I don't know about this property, whether or not borings were made.
And so here we got $3.5 million, $3.6 million that we want to bond, and we as the government need to protect people's money, and we need to do a Phase 1, get it done right. If Phase 2, if it requires it, do it right, and protect the folks' interest in their dollars here in town.
Yeah, I understood
that's what we just did.
Harry's report.
No, he didn't do a Phase 1, he didn't do a Phase 2.
Fern, do you know what a Phase 1 is?
It's going through the reports and looking at the different history of the site. And so if Phase 1 by Criterion, who is selling the property, we know that it was a flawed report. It included two other lots, I believe,
Across the street.
450 and 500.
That they
across the
also
street,
own, yes.
Right? And as you're reading through that 800 and some pages, okay, the issue that we're dealing with over on 401 Creek Road, we need to investigate. We can't rely on false information or misguided information.
So, I don't mean to interrupt you, but a Phase 1, all that is going to do is let you know if you need to do a Phase 2, which we are already doing.
Right.
That's all a phase one is. I deal with this every day at work. A phase one report is basically going through data miner, submitting OPRAs to the townships, submitting OPRAs to the fire department, OPRAs to the DEP, getting any reports that they have. And based on that, the author of the phase one, whether it's an LSRP or an environmental company, what they will do is determine if there are any areas of concerns, and that you would then go out and do your phase two. That,
So,
regardless if that report is flawed, as you say, because it includes 2 other properties across the street, which that's sometimes normal, sometimes not to include other ones in a purchase, they still went ahead and did the phase two, which if the phase one said it recommended a phase two, they would be doing the same thing.
Right.
That's all the phase one is.
Would a phase two,
It would cover us.
would the phase two include, I guess, core sampling or going below the surface?
It all depends on what the areas of concerns are.
Okay.
and that's what we just did. Let me read the letter from ERI.
I'm sorry, a lot of
Okay,
times
thank you, 'cause I
phase,
didn't see the letter.
a lot of times our phase twos are surface, a lot of times phase twos are doing a GPR study to see if there's any buried tanks. I had a phase two when I purchased my building on Burlington Avenue, and that consisted of a GPR and some cores. There are some areas that were just surface. It's all depends on what the environmental consultant recommends. For each project is completely different. There's no universal standard.
May 15th.
Okay,
And again, I would like us to make sure that we're protected, because down the road, if we go to sell this
course.
property to somebody else and they get into it, and we end up with the same thing that, from history of 20 years ago.
of
with that
course,
one piece
that's
of
why we
property.
had
That's
a
why ERI is going
95-day
out there.
due diligence period,
Right,
and we
okay.
had our
Exactly.
engineers go out there. So I'll just read this into the record from ERI.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding, this is the investigation summary, soil and groundwater investigation results regarding 401 Creek Road, Block 2100, Lot 11. Dear Mr. Schwab, environmental, hold on, I got a dry mouth, hold on. Environmental ERI Resolutions has prepared this letter to summarize the results of a soil and groundwater investigation completed at the above referenced site. The investigation was limited to the collection of 5 surface soil samples, 3 subsurface samples, and 1 groundwater sample. Sampling locations are depicted on the attached sample location map. Soil samples S1 through S5 were collected from a depth of 0 to 0.5 feet and were analyzed for arsenic, lead, target compound list, TCL pesticides. Samples S1 through S3 were further analyzed for extractable petroleum hydrocarbons, which is EPH, TCL semi-volatile organic compounds, TCL PCBs, and target anavolite lists, which is TAL metals. The detections reported by the laboratory did not exceed applicable New Jersey environmental DEP soil remediation standards. Soil samples SB1 through SB3 were collected from a depth of 4 to 4.5 feet from borings advanced at the septic field location. The samples were analyzed for TCL volatile organic compounds and EPH. No detections were reported by the laboratory. A groundwater sample was collected from a temporary well point installed at the septic field and was analyzed for TCL volatile organic compounds and TCL semi-volatile organic compounds. No detections were reported by the laboratory. If you have any questions, please feel free to call Mark Sellover, LSRP, NPG, whatever that means. Based upon, this is from Harry, based upon our review of the available documents supplied to us, background search, and subsequent limited soil and groundwater testing at this time, we see no apparent environmental concerns with the property. In addition, we reviewed existing stormwater and flood hazard rules and see no reason that future residential or any other development could not occur on this site. We will provide a full report, including lab results, this week. So that is still forthcoming. But they wanted to get that summary to us. So I don't know what else we can do. Sounds pretty comprehensive. Anybody else? Public comment?
Well, they can respond to that. Have them respond to that. I'm curious.
Did you have anything you wanted to say about that? Did that satisfy your concerns?
Thank you. Does it satisfy my total concerns? No. I will question. But again, that's more information than what I had before. So
Okay.
thank you very much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
that. It's
Mhm.
important.
And I think once we get those reports this week, it'll be forwarded to everyone in full. Good evening.
Harold Klingler, 509 Buttonwood Street. I just have a couple of quick questions. And one is this special election that's going to happen in July.
Mhm.
And it's going to cost somewhere around $70,000. Is there a reason why we couldn't move it to the general election in November?
Yes, because we are under contract with the seller of the property, and we have an obligation for time above the essence. We were supposed to close in June. If we waited till the general, we wouldn't close until December.
What happens if we don't meet the contract?
We could be sued. You're saying if the bond is voted down?
Well, is the July election past the contract?
Yes. So there'll be a contract extension to make up for that time. They've agreed to that, but they would, so understand that their tenant is vacating the property at the end of this month. So every month that they don't have revenue coming in is lost revenue for them. So my opinion, they would come back to us and say, if you're not going to, have an answer to us by December, you're going to have to pay us for that. So either way, we're going to be putting money out of our pocket.
Have we asked them if they would wait till November?
It's our attorney's opinion that it's not even something we would even have a discussion about, that we have to do it.
Well, that's an awful lot of opinions to just a simple phone call.
I
ask him.
think, I'm sorry, sir, if, at our last meeting, Doug was present, our solicitor, and he did speak about the consideration that we owed the seller, and I think he went at length. So it was on his advice
Right.
that we do this, to,
My question again, have we gave them a call and asked them?
I'm sure he's had conversations with them. He actually stated that at the last meeting.
That's, I'm sure he did, he might have.
Well,
We're
that's
not
all we're going
really
to say on that. That's what
sure.
he said, and that is what it is. So you
So-
can go back and watch that
So, I
meeting
mean,
too.
if you could just tell me, yes or no, we talked to the people or not?
We've said what we said about that matter. Nothing else
So
to say.
you haven't talked to the people? Okay, that's fine. That's a simple
Oh, no,
answer.
our
You
solicitor-
haven't-
Our
you
solicitor is
haven't
handling.
talked.
He doesn't tell us every discussion that he has with
Yeah.
them, but it was his
Well,
recommendation.
who's paying the solicitor? Us
Understood.
or the real estate people? Or whoever they
Understood.
are?
Do you have anything else that you'd like to ask?
Yeah, I'd like to just say that, state that I'd rather see the election in November and save the township $70,000. I mean, maybe it's not a lot in some people's minds, but 70,000 is a lot in my mind. We're going to lose basically $23,000 a year in taxes if we do take over that property. Plus, God knows what the percentage will be, I mean, on the loan, and how much it's going to cost us for that $3 million. Could be quite a bit. So, and I know we didn't get to this point with this resolution if the town wasn't concerned about it, because we would have never got here. So I think the town is concerned. Hopefully, if it goes according to this, and there is an election in July, bad time to have an election for the township, well, for the people of the town, because most people are already have vacations going and things of that matter, where we know they're going to be out there in November.
Well, there is an option to have a mail-in ballot, and they are able to do that with the special election. There's still plenty of time to register for that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm Michelle Seaver at 1506 Second Street. As the gentleman before me stated, have we published what this loan is going to encompass? What are the terms of the loan? How long the bond is going to be? And there were figures thrown out about, oh, your taxes are going to go up $100,000 on an average home of $190 in Delanco. People that have a higher value, what are our taxes going to go up? Shouldn't we have something?
So are you talking about for this year?
Well, when this bond goes through, how much am I going to expect my taxes to go up?
None of that's been determined because the bond hasn't been acquired yet. So
But you must have financing. You don't buy something without an approval for the bond. Somebody must be financing this. You must have agreed to some kind of terms.
you can't agree to any terms until the estoppel period's over. And now the estoppel period's dead, so there are no terms of anything. You have people that, how a bond works is people bid on it. But nobody can bid on it since it was dead. So we have no idea what our interest rate would be, who would be interested in it, none of that.
Yeah, this isn't like going to TD Bank and getting a home mortgage by any
Have
stretch of the
this-
imagination.
In public, we have no idea how much your taxes are going to go up.
I think we discussed that in many meetings.
Your taxes are going up, but we have no idea. So when this is all done, we'll let you know.
We never stated that the taxes were going to go up, and we had no idea. Your taxes are going up. If you refer to the chart in the PowerPoint presentation that's on the website, it shows what taxes are going up this year based on our budget. And it goes, I think, all the way up to $300 and some thousand. So you can do the math of what your house is assessed at, of what your taxes will be going up this year. That has nothing to do with 401 Creek Road. It's just normal day-to-day expenses that made your taxes go up.
Is this the new PowerPoint that you guys put up on the website?
It's not new. It's the one from a month ago.
Okay. So we're going to blindly vote for this and hope for the best, is what you're telling us?
I'm not telling you anything.
Well, that's the problem. You're not telling us anything.
I'm not telling you how to vote, is what I'm saying. Okay. Anyone else?
It's almost like we never had multiple public meetings on this,
Right.
and nobody received this information before.
All right.
Eric Dasher, 2405 Burlington Avenue. The gentleman mentioned a loss of $23,000 in tax revenue if we own this property. That was based on a two-thirds of a million evaluation back in, I think it was 2000?
No.
21? Well, if it's 5.3 million, that's a big difference than $666,000 evaluation.
You're talking about assessed value,
Okay,
tax
what's the
assessed
assessed
value. The tax assessed value is
No.
600 and some thousand.
Is how much?
The tax assessment value on the property right now is $630,000. That's a tax assessment.
Right, that's
Very
2/3 of a
different,
million.
that is very different than a real estate appraisal. Not the same thing. Your house might be assessed at 190,000, but you can sell it for 500,000. Not the same thing.
But the loss of tax revenue, or the difference between what it was assessed at and what you're saying it's appraised at, is going to be what we would lose
No.
on tax, no?
No.
No.
What we buy a property for has nothing to do with the tax assessment value. It's assessed, it's based what its value is in the tax world. It has nothing to do with real estate value.
Mr. Dashiell, if this bond, let's just say this bond fails, and Criterion goes ahead and builds this truck repair facility, the taxes are $23,000 a year. They're not getting any increased taxes on that.
They'll get very minimal based on the pavement. So maybe they get $26,000 a year in tax revenue, which, by the way, the town only gets a third of that. So Delanco Township itself gets about $7,000 of that $23,000. The rest
Seems
goes to
awfully
the
low.
school and the county. Well, this is based upon our last, townwide evaluation, which I believe was in 2014, 15?
Yeah, something like that.
So, I mean, my house is assessed at $295,000. I could sell it for double that. It doesn't have anything to, one has nothing to do with the other.
Okay, the other thing that was said was, we're in a rush because if this doesn't go through, we're going to get sued. But according to the contract, it states that if the bond doesn't pass, the contract is null and void, and we are not obligated to pay anything.
That is correct. I was referring to if we do not have an obligation and under due diligence, we could get sued. But you are correct. There's a contractual provision if we cannot get financing that.
Okay, you're a little misleading,
I was answering the question that was asked,
in a
so
misleading way to the public.
That's
Okay,
your
you-
opinion.
You put it out there that, hey, we could get sued for this. when that
Well,
is
we can
not
get
the
sued
case.
for anything, whether it's a contract provision or
Well,
not.
come on, you
Anybody
know
can
better
sue
than that.
anything. Anybody can get sued for anything.
You're right. You're right, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're putting it out to the public, the people in Delanco, that's like, hey, if we don't do it, we're gonna get sued. So one way or the other, we're gonna lose money.
Well, that's your opinion.
No, it's not an opinion.
That's how I was referring to him was his question, so.
The fact is, if the bond is not approved, everybody walks away and we lose nothing.
The only
That
money
is
that we
not how
would
you
lose is what we
presented
have invested in it, which is our environmental, our legal, our engineering, so that money we would lose. And any other time that we have into that's money we would lose.
We're gonna lose that anyway.
That's my point. The point is, that's what we would lose. If this doesn't go through, we're losing that. Either way.
Okay. You present things in a very shady way.
That's your opinion.
It is my opinion and
Okay,
a lot
thank
of
you,
other
sir.
people.
You can sit down. Anyone else?
Zaire Carter, 19 Fawn Court.
I'm sorry, what, 19?
Fawn?
Fawn?
Yep. I just had a couple of questions about the Delanco Township Information YouTube channel. Who runs the Delanco Township Information YouTube channel?
So Delanco Township staff in the office?
So it's on the official, that's a township government website, YouTube channel that's maintained. I'm sorry, no? Yes or no?
The only thing we use YouTube for is to transmit the township committee meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
So-
that's it.
So the record of these meetings are on the Delanco Township Information YouTube channel, correct? Which is maintained by the township.
We actually pay a third-party vendor to maintain that record.
Okay, but who is uploading the videos to that?
The staff, the municipal staff.
The municipal staff, okay, great. So my question is, what is the purpose of the Delanco Township Information YouTube channel? Like, why do we have it? Why is it there?
To share information.
To share information,
Yes.
for transparency,
Correct.
for these meetings, for folks who may not be able to make it.
Correct.
It's not meant for partisanship, it's not meant for political anything, it's just meant to simply share information.
Correct.
Completely public. Okay. So, and forgive my naivete because this is my first meeting, and I don't know all the rules and statutes, but there was a video that was posted some, I guess, 8 hours ago that was titled 401 Creek Road Information.
Yes.
And it was a beautiful video. Great drone shots, you guys looked great. But my question is, at the end of that video, it said no taxpayer money was used for this video.
Correct.
So, and forgive me again, in my business, you've got a separation between the official and the unofficial, right? Your personal versus your professional. So if these meetings, or this YouTube channel, as you say, is not meant for political ideology, it's not meant for agenda pushing, it's not meant to be partisan, it's meant to just give transparency to the people, then why is there a video that is not paid for by taxpayer dollars, which is great, but that means, in my mind, I would think that that would be for personal use. So my question would then be, why is there a personal video on a YouTube channel that is maintained by
So it's not a
the
personal
staff?
video, it's a video of the majority of the township committee, which this is the township, right? The majority of the township committee is the township. We are representing the township. And the information that will be provided to residents will also be coming from Delanco Township, majority of the Delanco Township Committee, and has been approved by our attorney to put it out that way. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
But do you understand my confusion about, for example, if my boss on his official government website linked to a page that was maintained by the government office, and there was a video that, because if you're not using taxpayer dollars, you're using personal funds, which means that that video was on the personal end, not the professional, not the official capacity.
Nobody got paid for
There
any
was no
of it.
personal funds.
We made it as the township committee.
But you did not use, no taxpayer money
Right.
was used.
And neither was any personal money.
So, But then why was it, then why would you put it
We wanted to
on
make
the-
sure that the residents knew we didn't pay somebody to do that, that we're trying to save money by doing things in-house ourselves. That's the only purpose of that. We didn't want people to think like, oh my God, we just spent $3,000 in taxpayer money to produce a video.
Exactly, and if you did, that would be a huge problem. But
Right.
you didn't, so if it's not for township use, like in terms of, it's not taxpayer dollars, why is it going on that YouTube channel? If it's a township thing, why wasn't Mr. Olet in the video?
Because
Like,
Mr.
if it's a
Olet does
town-
not support the message that we're putting out there.
But it's a township, if the purpose of this channel is to be completely apolitical of anything, it shouldn't matter your thoughts on 401 Creek or not. The title was 401 Creek Road Information, not, I think we should support the selling of 401 Creek Road, which the video clearly has a strong bias toward that. So I was confused, because it was my first time going to that channel, that you have a list going back to 23 of all of the committee meetings, and the only, what a huge precedent to break to use the one video that apparently is being maintained by the township staff, whether that's the clerk or whoever, but there is now a personal video, a video used for personal use, regardless of the ratio of who agrees with it or not, on a page that was not designed for that.
Okay, I understand your point. Like I said, it was run by our legal representation, and he said we could put it out the way we put it out, and that's how it was put out. So whether you feel it's personal or not, it represents the township majority, and that's how it was put out. So I appreciate your comments. Your 5 minutes is actually up, so thank you so much. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Does it have to be on that subject, or can it be on?
It's on
Yeah,
anything.
anything.
He just put it up this morning, so we could link it to the page.
Hi, my name is Greg Williams, 712 Hickory Street. I'd like to thank you all for your service, and I hope you're all having a good evening tonight. I'm not concerned with 401, whatever. I'm concerned with my little place in paradise. I've been kind of elected as a very, just kind of a representative from the neighbors, about 8 neighbors on 700 block. Really, I just have 2 questions. I need the definition, because I looked up S21-1, and that is the noise ordinance. So it says, the residents of Township, I had an issue, and I actually spoke with an officer who shall remain nameless, and he said there was really nothing I could do since they were doing what they were doing in their backyard on private property.
Okay.
So I looked up the statute, and it says, blah, 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 excessive sound and vibration or other necessary noise that may jeopardize or be detrimental to their health or welfare or safety, or which may degrade the quality of life as well as the environmental integrity of Delanco. And my wife works from home. And basically, it is a dirt bike. And it's my next door neighbor. And they drive the dirt bike around in circles. And the kid is about 11. And the reason I'm here is I can't communicate with any of them because none of them speak English. So I can't talk to them. So I go, rum, 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 no bueno, no bueno, rum, 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 no bueno. So I went and I spoke to the officer who was on duty. And he said, there's really nothing you can do. So I guess what I need to know is, what is the definition of unnecessary noise and quality of life?
I'll answer that for you.
Yeah.
You were misinformed. You have absolutely the right to sign a complaint,
I
sir.
thought so.
What is loud to me may not be loud to you,
Correct.
or some other one. So you have every right to, because what happens a lot of times, more often than not, we'll get a call for service for a noise issue. And sometimes, when the officers arrive, that noise is happening, it's active. More often than not, though, it's not.
Correct.
So since we're not hearing it now, and only you did,
Yep.
we're gonna tell you, sir, you have a right to come to the
Well,
station and sign a
About
complaint.
5 days after I spoke with this officer, that officer caught the kid, the 12-year-old, riding a motorcycle in the field behind Walnut Street School. You're from the park.
Yes, sir, absolutely, yeah.
So there it is. But-
Well, it's not, I wouldn't think it was a question of whether you were lying or not, that the bike
No.
didn't exist.
No, the only thing the reason I'm here is, can I pursue this?
You can go right, if you want, walk you over, you can sign a complaint right now.
Correct, yeah. Well, and it wouldn't be just me, it would be me and the other.
Well, they'd have to come do that on their own, but if you want to sign, you can't sign a complaint on behalf of someone else.
Correct.
But if you want to sign a complaint, I'll walk you over right now, you can sign a complaint. right now.
No, but now I know I got a leg to stand on.
Absolutely,
When I was,
yeah.
you know,
And understand too, even though our ordinance states it's 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on the
Correct.
weekdays, 11 p.m. on the weekend,
Correct.
that still doesn't mean that
That
at
don't
2
mean I can set
p.m.
up my band out in my backyard.
Right, and this is 2 o'clock, it can still be excessive, so,
And
yeah.
it really doesn't bother me, but my wife works from home. It's spring, the doors are open. He's literally 30 feet from my dining room. And what he does is he puts the front wheel on the pavement and he puts the tire on the dirt and just goes, yeah. And I'm not kidding. I don't mind the chickens, I don't mind none of that stuff, but the motorcycle's getting.
Yeah, but no, you have absolutely your right to sign a complaint.
That's all I needed to know.
Yes, sir.
And once again, I want to thank you all for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Peter Fritz, 303 Union Avenue, and 20-year member of the History Board. I've got 2 history issues. I wanted to get a clarification, if I could. The first thing is that I heard for the first time the title Centennial Subcommittee at this meeting tonight. And my understanding was that our preparation for the centennial for next year was going to be an ad hoc committee that was going to have 2 members from various organizations within the town. And the History Board had started working on what we thought would be some logical events 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And then last year, we were told to stand down more or less, and we turned over all of our materials to, I guess, Kate, that they went to you. And we were told that this ad hoc committee was going to be created, and we were going to meet and work together to come up with a plan for the year. But we haven't been communicated at all in terms of what the meetings are or when they are, and I don't know how we fit in now. And I think with
Recreation took over as the committee for the centennial.
that's what I'd heard, yes.
Okay, but nothing, you didn't turn any material over to me. I didn't
Well, I
see.
gave you all the notes that we got from Steve.
Yeah, I don't have any notes from you, but I just had the names of the people who signed up. And Rec will be contacting them. Right now, Rec is just brainstorming on how to set it up and what to do, and they will be contacting all the people who volunteered to be a part, which was the History Board, the Joint Land Use, the library, I think maybe. I know I had different, I gave them the list of everyone who volunteered. And so they will be in touch with you once they have the format, where they're going to do it, what they're going to do, and ask you to take over a certain project or something, or give your ideas. But that's, recreation is taken over. But you didn't give me any, I didn't have any notes from you. I just had a list of who was volunteering.
I had a folder. I thought I gave you the folder.
No, I
that
I
had
never got your
Our
folder.
minutes from the meetings that we had several years ago about that.
So if you have
Anyways,
that folder, hang on to it until you come to the meeting, because I don't have it, Peter.
Well, so if you're brainstorming what's going to happen, but history's not involved in the brainstorming, I don't see.
It's
where the
more
relevancy-
of a, it was more of a, like a setup
layout.
thing, a layout of how, like,
Yeah.
how we have to collect fundraising, do we have to set up a nonprofit, how they account, more like housekeeping stuff. So when we get down to, like, we have some dates in mind for next year, so we didn't want to have 15 people all at once trying to figure that out. They wanted to figure out kind of the baseline and then bring everybody in to conglomerate of all the different ideas and stuff.
Great.
So you'll be getting an invitation to a meeting very soon.
All right, good.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to getting an invitation for that. The other question that I had really goes back 2 meetings. When you folks passed a resolution about removing a fence at the archaeological site over at Newton Russ Farmhouse. And I would be interested to know if anybody on the staff or anybody on the Township Committee contacted the New Jersey Historic Preservation Office to have a discussion about what function that fence served. They're very hard to reach. And after you passed the resolution, and I kind of knew what the situation was, but I wanted to talk to them, and I called them. It took several weeks before anybody even called me back. But there could be an issue. And I did see that after you passed the resolution, 2 days later, the fence was gone and replaced by four little concrete blocks that are flush with the ground or something like that, which doesn't seem like much of a barrier, which I think the fence was.
I don't think it was a barrier. It was more just kind of like a marking was what that fence was for. And they're also going to be putting a sign out there to let people know what it was as well.
Well, the problem is that you don't really want to tell people what it was, so the sign might just say, "Don't ask."
Well, we want people to know, 10 years from now that this exists, and that's why that is there. Because it's in like a small paragraph in like the middle of like an HOA document. So it's not something that is, stands out to anybody. And when we have people retiring, it may get lost in translation. So we thought the sign would be
that concerns me as
appropriate.
well.
Sure. So that's kind of the stance we took. And at least there's still the markings out there so you know the property lines.
Okay, we do have, there are 12 historic sites in Delanco that are on the list from the State Historic Preservation Office. One is on the National Registry, Zerber Mansion, and then 11 of them are smaller sites that aren't well distinguished on the list. They're given some kind of a name, but you don't know exactly where they are or what they're called. I'm trying to get clarification from the office for them to tell us as a history board where it is so we know what we're supposed to be keeping an eye on. And I wondered if you have a contact at the office that I don't know about, that would be a good thing to have. I did make contact. I finally did talk to somebody, but she said, she was the architectural person, but the person that handles artifacts was not in the office. They would call me back. That was 2 weeks ago.
We would probably defer to you for the contact.
I would appreciate it if we could be included in whatever discussions that we have here. And I don't know who it was that caused that fence to go up in the first place. Was that the state that came in to say, we want this marked off?
Yes.
Yes.
It was DEP, I think,
Yeah,
wasn't
it
it?
was DEP.
It was DEP.
Well, it's part of the DEP now. The State Preservation Office is part of the DEP.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they approved the fence coming down.
Yes, they did.
They
They-
did approve
They
it.
approved it.
So
yeah.
you did make contact?
No, the
The
New Zealand
homeowners.
HOA.
The HOA did,
Reached
yes.
out to the DEP, and our attorney was involved, the solicitor was involved also.
Yeah.
Because we had concern about the long term, once the fence would be down, and the state said, yeah, we don't have that problem. You just can't dig, excavate, or build over. So that's why in the resolution, there's a requirement that there be markers,
Okay.
and that this to mark it off, so that years down the road, it's like, what is this? And not just some resolution in
Sure.
a file somewhere. So those were the stipulations that the committee, basically, the DEP, the HOA didn't need the township committee's approval from a standpoint of it was the state that had
Okay.
the architectural preservation area. They just wanted the township to kind of give its blessing to what the state had already approved.
Yes.
And the committee imposed greater restrictions in that there had to be markers maintained, and some type of small plaque or signage or something.
Well, that would be a help, I would think. The HOA had called me at home several times over the course of a couple of years saying, why is this fence up and can we take the fence down? And I said, it's protecting something. And they, I guess, didn't like the answer I was giving them. And so
Yeah.
they went
Yeah.
around me and went to you guys and got
Well,
the
no, they went to
resolution.
DEP.
They went to
DEP.
They went to
Yeah.
DEP
They went
first.
to DEP.
Yeah.
Yeah, they went to
Interesting.
DEP.
Okay.
And actually, there's a gentleman here from the HOA, Ray, who would, I'm sure he'll clarify what they did.
Sure. Okay.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Just need the clarification.
Anyone else?
Ray.
Oh, there's Ray.
Speak of the devil.
I didn't see him back there. You were hiding, usually front and center.
Change my position.
Okay.
Ray Weber, 22 Ships Way. In reference to that fence, a fence was put up by the builder back in 2002.
2002, okay.
It's preserved, because there's two plots in Newton's Landing that are archaeological preservation areas. One of them is right behind the farmhouse. The other one is off of Newton's Landing Circle, between houses and the retention basin, okay? The houses are on Pennington. We went to the DEP and asked them about it, and they said, take it down. The builder's supposed to have taken it down when he finished. But what happens is, in order to preserve that area, we took down the fence, we put in the markers. They're 1 foot by 1 foot by 4-inch thick concrete blocks on all, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots where those blocks are on there to identify it. Because we don't have a perfect square, because the DEP allowed the builder to cut into part of that foundation where the preservation is for the pool and the surrounding walkway around it. So we are planning on installing a plaque. There's 2 white birch trees on top of that area. We're planning on installing a plaque on there with a 2 foot by 1 foot by 2 foot block of concrete, and using certain type of adhesive that you'll have to lift up the entire block. It won't take the sign off the block. This adhesive is used by many different industries. You'll take a wall out before the thing breaks loose from anything. So that's what it is. It's going to say archaeological preservation on that block, on that sign, and it's going to be glued to this concrete block that we're going to put in the ground to preserve it. And it's going to be above ground by 2-3 inches. The reason being is because we don't want the grass or anything else to grow over it like you see in certain cemeteries where you have plaques that are ground level.
Yeah.
And the grass is growing over it, so.
It's an elevated foot marker then?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an elevated foot marker,
Great.
okay? And that's what the committee agreed to.
Yeah, we're cool
The
with it.
solicitor agreed to it. So, in fact, I'm in the process of ordering that sign as well as getting all the other material together so we can put it together, do it. Just because everything else is done except for that sign. And I haven't had the time.
Where you been? On vacation? I mean, what have you
I've
been
been out of the
doing?
country for a month.
I know, we missed you. You got 3 minutes. You want to talk about anything else?
No,
You sure?
I'm done.
Okay. No trees, stop sign?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Anyone else? I'll close session 2 to the public. I don't even know where we're at here. Oh, we're at the end. Any resolution for executive session not needed? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night.